Welcome to the GPLama YouTube channel and to something that I've spent a few hours diving into over the last few days because I think it is really interesting. What it's all about is an update to the heat maps over on Strava for both the global heat maps and the personal heat maps. Global heat maps being available to every user on Strava, personal heat maps being for subscribers only. Now, the specific change or update that Strava have made to heat maps gives us the ability to select the ride type for the heat maps that are shown. So for example, if I just want to see gravel rides, I can. If I want to see mountain bike rides, I can. Unfortunately, there's no road category, as road or ride has been the default catch-all for almost all uploads for many years now. Any head unit that doesn't correctly set the subsport category within the activity file, I believe just defaults to ride, and we'll just blat onto the map. So if you're looking to go for a gravel ride without that granularity, it was kind of difficult to see where people were doing gravel rides or mountain bike rides. As a quick side note before diving into the details, Garmin Edge units do correctly set the subsport category with ride profiles for mountain, road, gravel, etc. And services such as ActivityFix do allow us to categorize automatically the rides that we've done, improving the quality of the data that we're seeing with this new heat map update. You may have seen this pop up in the last few days on either free or paid accounts over on Strava. Now the quick takeouts from this, just a rundown on what heat maps are and what we're now seeing. The heat map is available to the public, but only registered Strava athletes may zoom into street level details of activity on the heat map. The heat map is updated monthly, so if you do a ride tomorrow, it's not going to show up tomorrow. It may show up next month as part of the global data pool. The global heat map shows heat made by activities with visibility set to everyone over the last 13 months, keeping everything relatively fresh for what's shown on screen. I guess that also gives the ability to show events that take place every year, maybe plus or minus a few days, which is very handy when looking for events to do or places to go, as you'll see in a few moments. They also state here the heat map excludes all portions of activities hidden using your map visibility settings, so your home address, if you've got those set as privacy zones, you may opt out, and areas with very little activity may not show any heat, obviously. Alrighty, jumping here to my free Strava account, GP and pulling up the global heat maps, which we really can't tell what's going on here. My favorite mode to go here is dark mode on the web. Yes, Strava does have a dark mode, just not over here. Come on, Strava. So switching over to dark mode, there we go. Much easier to identify everything. And of course, Australia is the center of the world there-ish. Now this is currently set to global heat map only, not personal heat maps, which isn't available for free accounts. Not to worry, we can still get a ton of cool info from the global heat map. It's also got all sports showing. So we can now flip that down and everything is there. Foot sports, let's ignore those. Virtual cycle sports is what we're after. So we can now choose all cycle sports. Well, it doesn't really change much there. Ride, mountain bike, gravel bike, e-bike, e-mountain bike, virtual ride, velomobile. Let's go for just standard ride for now. Let's dive into my hometown where I am right now in Ballarat. Right, cycling quite popular around here. Now, previously, that was what you would see. If you were to bring a gravel bike to Ballarat or a mountain bike, you'd have to really search around and maybe look elsewhere to find out where to ride your gravel bike because you can't really distinguish what's what. They're all just rides. That's why the subsport category is really handy, or ActivityFix, again, as a reminder for that one. But if we do flip down and click on gravel ride, this gets really cool. Now what you're seeing on screen here are rides around Ballarat, my hometown, where people have ridden their gravel bikes. Now, because you have to go out of your way to set that subsport category on here or ActivityFix, the data is quite clean and quite good. And I know this because this is where I ride my gravel bike. Identified here the Skipton Rail Trail, and from this we can see most people get down to Linton and turn around. It's 112k round trip, so fair enough. Another one is my Jim's gravel loop. If you follow me on Strava, these may look very familiar. So Jim's gravel loop, down the rail trail, Doctor's Gully Road, over to the back of Buninyong, and up through here. Another one is my Creswick coffee ride, which goes around here out to Creswick, depending on which way I go and which way the wind's blowing, and then back through the world famous Creswick Forest, which I absolutely love for gravel. And look, looking at that map, so does everybody else. There's a lot of good riding through there. So to take out from this, if you're coming to Ballarat with a gravel bike, you can simply load this up, have a look where people ride, and plot your own course. You'll have a good day. Now zooming just out a little bit from Creswick, and there are two distinct loops north of Creswick, and they are the Dirty Pig and Whistle gravel event that happens every year. It's around mid-May, so coming up again soon. With the outer loop there being 120 Ks, the inner loop, the 80K loop, and the shorter loop there being the 47. Again, if you were going to Creswick for the weekend, take your gravel bike, that's a good loop to do. And without the new granularity, it was hard to even pick where to ride. So if I was to pull out here and go to ride, which was the default for all before, you really can't tell where people have ridden around there. So it's that highlighting through there, which makes planning your next gravel ride around Creswick much better. Now, a little deeper into what I dived into over the last few days. Again, looking at Melbourne, lots of trails around Melbourne, lots of creeks, lots of people doing gravel rides out through the Yarra River Trail, North Warrandyte, up through Wattle Glen, Panton Hill, St Andrews, some great riding out there. Another thing that's interesting is up in Sydney, very different city, and in inner Sydney, not much gravel riding happening at all. You definitely have to venture north or south of Sydney City. So if you're travelling to Sydney with your no one travels to Sydney with their gravel bike. What am I saying? Down here in Wagga Wagga, again, another highlight that just sticks out of nowhere. Now, literally, it is in the middle of nowhere. If I go back to satellite, you'll see is it desert? Well, it's close by. That is the Dirty 130, I think, that's put on every year. That's either by Rafa or some crew up that way. Okay, back to dark. Again, sticking with my Aussie theme, over to Adelaide, great place to ride a bike, especially in January when it's nice and hot. And a loop out here, that is the Rattle Gravel event. Very, very popular this year, and it's going to be an absolute sellout next year too. So that's the route for that. Again, if you're in Adelaide or nearby, the wineries, take your gravel bike, load the heat maps, find out where it goes, grab the routes, and you're good to go. Again, continuing on over to Perth, and a few hours south of Perth, something that is coming up very, very soon, which will be this, the part of the Gravel World Series 7 event out that direction here. There's the official map from the official website, but we can see it stick out pretty clearly on the heat maps there. Okay, zooming out from there, and with the power of heat maps, international travel is very, very fast. We can look at New Zealand, South Island, all looking really great down there. Lots of options near Queenstown, lots of options over near Christchurch and just south. A few interesting little loops over there. Again, pulling right out to the States and how popular gravel is over there. And again, one of these little rabbit holes that I went down, like what is that trail running down from north to south? And obviously it is the Great Divide mountain bike trail. It was easily identifiable with the new heat maps. If I was to switch to just ride, that doesn't really stand out. But again, that granularity, being able to select gravel ride, that really does bring it out, that trail. Zooming into the hotspot there of Colorado for gravel, lots of loops, lots of adventures to be had there on gravel. And if I flick over to mountain bike rides, I have confirmed they're not all Des Fits rides, but I'm pretty sure Des has contributed to a lot of data here in Colorado on the mountain bike. And without a doubt, that is one of the hotspots in the States for mountain. And the final landing spot in the States we'll have a look at is over here in Monterey. This is relevant for the end of this week. Sea Otter taking place there. Laguna Seca Raceway right here with a lot of gravel rides just north of that. We can also flip that again to mountain bike ride. Quite a few different options there. I'm guessing there's a few e-mountain bike rides because they did have a race there. I was watching e-mountain bike races a few years ago at Sea Otter. So yes, also quite a popular activity to record there. All right, flipping back to gravel, and my last rabbit hole that I did go down was over here across the Atlantic, zooming in. Obviously, northern Italy, super popular for gravel. Southern Italy, not so much. Can anybody comment below southern Italy? I'm not across why people don't gravel ride down there. Obviously, northern Italy is a nice place to ride a bike, and I have ridden up there. Southern Italy, it's very, very different though. There's two worlds there, definitely. But onto the mountain bike side of things. We'll zoom back out here, and just an example of in my hometown, that's currently set to gravel. If we set that to mountain bike ride, it brings things in even further for exactly where people ride mountain bikes. Not a lot over here in the west, straight down here through the east of the city from Creswick down to Bunningon and a little south. And the reason for that is if we go to satellite, you'll see there that's pretty much the forested area, and effectively that's where all the gold mines are too. It's a gold mining city here in Ballarat. So very handy to know where to ride a mountain bike, especially around there. As I've posted on Instagram a few times, there's actually a warning that pops up on one of my head units that says deep uncovered mine shafts. So sticking to the trails that other people have ridden, probably a wise move around this area. Okay, so that's the free account. I'm going to flip over now to my personal account, which is I'm a subscriber to Strava. We'll flip that over to dark mode. We'll turn off Global Heatmap, we'll turn on Personal Heatmap, and there are the same options there for that granularity of activity type. So for ride, lots of things lighting up there as I've ridden and raced around most of this state and a little further. Zooming into Ballarat, if I was to show you where I've ridden my gravel bike, that's right there. Now flipping to mountain bike, I haven't ventured as far on the mountain bike, and that is right here, mostly up through the Creswick Forest. And one thing I did find interesting was virtual ride, which Strava do overlay on the real maps of the world. I really think Strava should separate virtual from real, but here we are. And here's a ride that I did on one of my head units out to Creswick once. I replicated that ride on a Garmin Edge or something one day indoors. Pulling out from that, if I go back over to Global, virtual rides, you'll see where all the virtual platforms record their rides indoors. And again, another rabbit hole to go down for interesting routes. Typically, if people are riding courses virtually indoors, they're very interesting locations. So for example, diving into Adelaide, a lot of the hills out that way, Wollonga Hill, obviously. Let's pull back and head back over to Europe. And of course, all the very famous climbs are on all the virtual platforms, and that's what's listed here. Now I know Bormio is around about here somewhere. How far am I off? Oh, I wasn't far off at all. Right near the Stelvio, brilliant location, and people have ridden this virtual ride quite a lot. Obviously, if we switch back to standard ride, yes, my word, that's a lot. I have no idea what's going on there. That is absolute GPS fire. All right, so again, a bit of a long-winded video on this one. As I dive around it, I'm absolutely fascinated by this data. One miss on this with this heat map update is that you can't select that granularity on the mobile app just yet. I hope they're rolling that out. And secondly, when you go to plan a route, let's just say you find somewhere really interesting to ride. Let's go over to, okay, diving into Johannesburg. Let's switch to gravel rides out that way. I'm sure there's a few epics. Aha, right, so there's something out to Sun City. Now when I click on create a route, which is an option only for subscribers on Strava, it does hold my hand and bring me to a new screen with the same area on screen. However, the global heat maps are now everything. I'm not able to select just gravel or just mountain, so it makes things a little bit more difficult if I was in a busier area. From here I can see that, okay, I can flip back here, it starts at about the lake there. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I think that has pretty much done it. It's very close anyway. But it does take a little bit of guesswork to be on the right course because I may be selecting some road rides, some mountain bike rides, or some e-bike rides, which are all jumbled up in that definition there of global heat map. Alrighty, we'll leave it there for today. That's a welcome update seen there over on Strava for both free users and paid subscribers. As you've seen me dive around the world there just quickly over the last few minutes, it is a very, very valuable resource now to find out where to ride your gravel bike and mountain bike. Road, I'm not so sure. Maybe one day that data will be cleaned up too. But for now, jump over to Strava, have a scroll around and let me know what you find. Thanks for watching.